My veil was still pinned. The band was warming up, and my phone buzzed. One line. "You're fired. Consider it my gift to you." It was from my boss's son. On my wedding day. 3 hours later, I had 108 missed calls. And one message from his father that made my hands shake. "I'm Claire, 29, from Columbus, Ohio, USA. If stories of injustice turning into justice give you life, hit like. Drop a comment with the wildest thing a boss ever did to you. And subscribe. Your support helps real stories like mine get heard." The text landed like a stone in still water. The black letters were small, almost polite. "You're fired. Consider it my gift to you." The sender's name hovered on my screen. Evan, my boss's son. My direct manager. 27, with a trust fund grin and new shoes that squeaked on the tile. He liked the squeak, said it made people look up. I kept staring at the words as if they might rearrange into a joke. The room around me felt loud and far away. The clink of glasses, the swell of soft jazz, my cousin's happy squeal 2 tables over. I held the phone like a hot coal, careful not to drop it, careful not to scream. I didn't cry. My throat just tightened. The veil brushed my shoulders. The lace felt heavy, like a hand pressing me down. I looked up across the table and found my husband's eyes. Matt, steady and warm, tapping his ring finger against the wood like a small metronome of patience. He smiled because he knows my tells. He smiled because he always does. "What's wrong?" he asked, voice low, leaning in so only I could hear. I flipped the phone around. He read the line once, twice. His mouth twitched. He didn't look angry. He looked surprised, almost impressed. "During our reception," he said. Classy, I swallowed. That slow, old fear rose in me, the one like cold water in the lungs. I had worked at Holcomb & West for 6 years. I grew my client list from nothing. I knew deadlines like birthdays. I knew which vendor would answer calls after 10 p.m. and which auditor liked lemon cookies. I kept a binder, old school, tabbed and dog-eared because paper made me calm. Evan mocked it. "We have software," he'd say, poking the binder with a pen. "We have me." Evan had arrived a year earlier, all charm and noise, kissing air beside cheeks, dressing down the receptionist for choosing the wrong shade of beige for the lobby flowers. He had an MBA, a father who owned the company, and a talent for breaking anything he touched, then blaming the sharp edges on someone else. He hated me gently, smiling. "Claire, you're amazing," he'd say. "But," and the but carried 100 paper cuts. "But your emails are too long." "But could you loop me in?" "But copy me on everything." "But don't tell Dad." That last one came with a wink. I learned to nod. To keep my head down. To correct things quietly. Like the time Evan promised a client a discount that didn't exist. Or the time he streamlined our compliance notifications and accidentally skipped an entire region. I fixed it. I always did. That was my job, right? Quiet water on small fires. The week before the wedding, I asked for Friday and Monday off. My PTO was approved. HR smiled at me in the hallway and said, "Enjoy every second." Evan said he'd cover. He said, "It's just 2 days, Claire. I'll show Dad I can handle your accounts. Go be a bride." The morning of my wedding, he messaged me at 7:42 a.m., a thumbs up emoji, and "Don't check email today. I got this." I didn't respond. I was getting my hair done. My hands shook even then, not from Evan, just from nerves and joy. The stylist pinned, sprayed. My mother cried softly in the corner, trying not to smear her mascara. I thought about vows, about how Matt laughs with his whole body, about our quiet apartment and the basil plant I always overwater. By the time we were clinking glasses under white lights, my work life was a closed book. I had earned that. I let myself believe it. Then the text. "You're fired. Consider it my gift to you. Is it even legal?" I whispered to Matt, his eyes darkened. He squeezed my hand. "Short answer? Maybe. Long answer? He won't like what happens next." Evan followed the text with another one, a screenshot of an HR form, my name blurred, the word "terminated" circled in red like a grade school paper. He added a bow emoji. He wasn't even hiding. The music swelled, and for a moment the room tilted and I thought, he did it because he could. Because power is a toy to him. Because my joy offended him. I stepped outside to breathe. The night smelled like cut grass and chilled wine. The terrace lights hummed. I thought about calling HR. I thought about calling his father, Mr. West, who had always nodded at me in the hall with a brisk, kind smile. But I didn't call anyone. I took off my heels and felt the cool stone under my feet. I thought of every small insult I had swallowed. The performance review that praised my motherly office energy. The raise that didn't touch inflation. The forwarded client praise with Evan's great job team stamped on my one-person effort. They sat inside me like rocks. The fear cracked and something harder slid into place. A quiet thought. You won't ruin this day? Not this one. I put my shoes back on, wiped my eyes, and went back in. I showed my maid of honor. She gasped. I showed my mother. She said, "We'll fix it after. Tonight you dance." I danced. I laughed. I drank water and then champagne. I kissed my husband in a circle of people clapping. I watched the room blur with love. I let the song lift me. And still, under it all, I felt the text humming like a live wire in my pocket. We were cutting the cake when my phone began to vibrate again and again, so steady it felt like a heartbeat. I ignored it. It vibrated through the speeches, through my father's trembling voice as he told a story about teaching me to ride a bike, through my mother's shaky laugh as she warned Matt about my complicated relationship with Basil. It buzzed while Matt and I slipped out to the hallway to breathe and hear each other. "Let me see," he said gently. We looked together. Missed call, missed call, missed call. And the same caller ID title over and over, office. I didn't pick up. I pressed the phone to my chest like a secret. The calls kept coming. By the time the last guests were hugging goodnight, my phone showed 108 missed calls. One voicemail flagged urgent. One text from a number I recognized, a number that never texted. Mr. West. Call me now. Outside, the air had gone colder. We stood under the quiet string lights, the world a little smaller and much sharper. Matt said, "Whatever this is, we're not afraid." I nodded, but my stomach was a fist. I tapped play on the voicemail. It was Evan's father. His voice was clipped, controlled. "Claire, I need you to call me immediately. It's urgent." I lifted my eyes to Matt. "This is going to get ugly," I said, and for the first time all day, I smiled. Mini cliffhanger. Why 108 missed calls? Why is Mr. West calling now? We went back to the hotel with confetti still clinging to Matt's jacket. The lobby was warm and bright. The night clerk smiled, not knowing our wedding day had been split in two by a text. I waited until we were in the room, until the door thunked closed and the city sound softened, before I called Mr. West. He answered on the first ring. "Claire," Mr. West, a breath. Paper rustled. Voices in the background. Phones ringing. "Did my son fire you today?" "He sent a text during my reception," I said. No explanation. No warning. Silence like a held breath. "I see. I have a right to know why," I said, surprised by my own steadiness. "And I'd like it in writing. More paper." Something slammed somewhere far away. "Claire, we have a situation." He chose each word carefully, like stones in a stream. "Key clients are calling. They want you. They were promised that you, and only you, would be handling their renewals. My son sent out an automated email transferring all of your accounts to a new rep without any briefing. The rep has never touched those files." I stared at the carpet pattern. The city light cut a stripe across it like a silver river. "You didn't know he fired me." I did not. His anger was not loud. It moved under his voice like heat. "Evan has made a mistake. I need you to come in Monday." The old reflex rose. "Say yes. Come early. Fix it." My body knew the posture, the pleasing smile, the no problem at all. I placed my hand on the desk to stop its tremor. "As what?" I asked. "I'm fired." "You're not," he said. Consider that rescinded. We don't get to consider, I said, hearing my breath tighten. Either it's rescinded in writing or it isn't. I felt Matt's eyes on me, proud, steady. And even then, there's a bigger problem. Your clients called because they trust me. They trust me because I have knowledge and systems Evan doesn't. Claire. He lowered his voice. Please, we will pay you double time to come in Monday and— I got married today, I said. On a weekend I planned months in advance. I won't be coming in Monday. I was shaking now. It wasn't fear. It was a thin, electric thread of control. Tuesday, then. Maybe, I said. But we need to talk about what happened. We need to talk about why it happened. Silence again. Then a sigh. The sound of a man accustomed to signing the last line on checks and expecting the room to nod. He thought you were leaving. Leaving? My laugh came out harsh. I requested 2 days of PTO. HR approved. That's leaving? He found a draft in your email. A resume. He assumed I closed my eyes. The resume I had tinkered with in moments of late-night exhaustion. The one I never sent. The one I wrote during a week when Evan scheduled a 7 a.m. mindset sync to ask me why my desk plant looked sad. I had saved it to my drafts to remind myself I could have options, even if I didn't take them. He had been snooping. Of course he had. I won't discuss my personal files, I said. And I won't open my laptop tonight. If you want to fix what your son did, start by putting in writing that he does not have access to my email anymore. A pause throbbing with things he wanted to say. Then, fine, I'll instruct IT. Good. Send me that instruction in writing. And send me a letter rescinding the termination. I waited. I will not discuss client specifics outside business hours. And I will not discuss them until I receive those 2 items. He measured me the way a builder measures a beam. For strength, for straightness. You've always been thorough, he said at last. It almost sounded like respect. Thorough keeps us out of lawsuits, I said, the anger glowing warmer now, not wild, but tight and useful. That includes wrongful termination and retaliation. He cleared his throat. I'll have HR email you within the hour. After I hung up, the shaking started, every nerve firing, every muscle releasing what it had been holding. I sat on the floor in my dress and leaned against the bed, the satin cool under my palm. Matt slid down beside me, shoulder to shoulder, like we had done 100 times on our couch when days ran too long. He handed me water. We listened to the city in the window and the quiet buzz of the air vent. You were perfect, he said softly. I was terrified. I admitted. That's what courage feels like from the inside. We didn't sleep much. My mind clenched around small things. The shade of the carpet in the conference room, the squeak of Evan's shoes, the emails I had written over the years that began with "per our conversation" and ended with "please advise." I thought about every time I had given him more grace than he deserved. Every time I'd covered for him because to do otherwise would hurt our clients. I thought about how he had chosen my wedding day because he believed I would be too stunned to defend myself. At 1:13 a.m., HR emailed, an unsigned PDF the length of a paragraph, rescinding the termination and inviting me to return Tuesday for a meeting about the communication breakdown. No mention of Evan's access being suspended. No apology, as if the error was a smudge on a window, not a knife in a clean tablecloth. I'm not going back like that, I said. Then don't, Matt said. There is a special kind of exhaustion in being the reliable one. You become a structure other people lean against. They stop seeing that you hold weight. I had spent years being useful. Now I wanted to be effective. I booted up my laptop. The familiar logo bloomed. I didn't open my work email. I opened my binder. Yes, I keep scanned copies of the important parts. Contacts, renewal calendars, notes about vendor quirks. Not proprietary secrets. My own work product, my own summaries, the map I made to keep our ship off the rocks. I had made that map because Evan loved storms. I stared at the list of clients who had called 108 times. I could imagine the calls. Where's Claire? Why is this new guy asking for our documents? Who is he and why doesn't he know our history? I could imagine Evan trying to bluff and bluster. I could imagine the panic spilling up the chain. At 2:06 a.m., another email pinged from IT. Evan's access to my inbox was temporarily suspended pending review. Temporary, pending, words that slide around when you try to stand on them. At 7 a.m., the first workday bell. My phone lit up again. Not the office line. Clients. 2, then 3, then 8 in a row. I wrote the same thing back to each, short and polite. I'm out of office with limited availability. Please direct urgent issues to general support. I'll follow up soon. I didn't add, because I was fired last night. I didn't add, because Evan panicked. I didn't add, because the person you trusted mistook spite for leadership. By noon, my stomach felt like I'd swallowed gravel. Matt kept bringing tea. I kept pacing. The urge to fix everything was a strong old habit, like biting your nails down to the quick. But I didn't work there, technically. And even if I did again, things had changed. At 2:40 p.m., an email dropped into my personal inbox from a client I loved. Patel Manufacturing, the one that sent lemon cookies every December. The subject line was just my name. The body said, "What happened?" "We requested a call with Evan. He was unhelpful. We told Mr. West we want you. Only you." And then the line that made something inside me click into place. "If you're not there, we'll move our business." I read it twice. Calm settled over me, a kind that felt like standing on bedrock. I could hear Evan's shoes squeaking in a panic loop. I could see Mr. West's jaw tightening. I knew 2 things. 1, I had leverage. 2, leverage isn't a weapon, it's a balance. Use it wrong and you look petty. Use it right and you look inevitable. At 4:15 p.m., Mr. West called again. He didn't waste time. "We'll see you Tuesday at 9 a.m. Evan will apologize." The words sounded strange in his mouth, like a man trying out a new tool. "No," I said. "Not Tuesday, a beat." "Claire, Wednesday, 11 a.m. in the conference room with windows. HR present. You will send me the agenda tonight. And I will bring a written list of conditions." "Conditions?" "My return will not be unconditional," I said. Your son made it personal. "I will make it professional." He exhaled hard, and it wasn't anger anymore. It was calculation. "Send your conditions. I'll review them." I hung up and opened a blank document. My hands were steady. My thoughts lined up like soldiers. Short, clear, unafraid. Conditions. Formal written apology from Evan, acknowledging wrongful termination and overreach. 1-year severance guarantee if terminated without cause. At my current pay plus average quarterly bonus. Salary adjustment to market median plus 10%. Title change to senior accounts lead. Remove Evan from direct supervisory authority over me. I report to operations director. Clear client communication that I am the point of contact. No reassignment without my consent. Confirmation that Evan no longer has access to my emails or my accounts. Performance review conducted by operations and HR together. Not by Evan non-disparagement clause. Mutual written acknowledgement that firing occurred on my wedding day by text. A charitable donation made in my name to the local domestic workers legal fund. Not because of optics, because power should be watched. I stared at the list. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like repair. But in the marrow, I wanted more. Not noise. Not a scene. I wanted truth to stand under lights until it warmed the room. At 6:02 p.m., I emailed the list. 3 minutes later, I got a calendar invite. Wednesday, $11 a.m., Conference Room B. The agenda was attached. Short, clinical, HR-scented. My phone buzzed with a text from a number. I didn't recognize but knew. Evan. "Why are you doing this?" I typed, "Because I can," then deleted it. I wrote, "We'll speak Wednesday," and turned off my phone. That night, I slept. Not long, not deeply, but the dreams weren't frantic anymore. They were quiet rooms, chairs pulled out, a table set. The kind of dream where you know exactly where to put your hands. The kind where you wake with a thought that isn't fear. He picked the battlefield. I choose the rules. Mini cliffhanger. What are Claire's next moves? What will the meeting reveal? And what has she been quietly preparing all along? Wednesday came with the hard blue light of a cold sky. I wore a simple black dress and flats that wouldn't squeak. I brought my binder. I brought a copy of my conditions printed twice, one for me, one for the table. I brought something else too. Calm. The office smelled like coffee and nerves. Phones rang and stopped, like hiccups. People glanced at me and then away. A junior rep mouthed congrats and then sorry, in the same breath. I nodded. The elevator dinged an unkind note. Conference room B had glass walls and a long gleaming table. Mr. West was already there, sleeves rolled, tie off, a man who had stopped pretending the day was normal. HR sat beside him, neat bun, neat notes, neat face that didn't give anything away. Evan leaned against the window with his arms folded. He wore new shoes. They squeaked when he shifted. "Claire," Mr. West said, standing. A gesture of respect. Good. It meant he was counting the cost. "Thank you for meeting," I said, sliding my conditions onto the table. "Before we begin, I want to confirm that this is a formal HR conversation and that notes are being kept." "They are," HR said. "Great." I set down my binder. The weight of it felt like something honest, something proven. "I also want to state that I am recording this meeting for my own notes." I placed my phone on the table, screen toward me. I didn't say whether the red dot was real or not. Sometimes what matters is that people behave as if it is. Evan snorted. "Is this a deposition?" "It's a conversation," I said, "about choices and consequences." Mr. West cleared his throat. "First, an apology." He looked at me, then at the conference room glass, as if it might change his reflection. "My son's decision on Saturday was unacceptable. It was personal, not professional. I rescind it completely. I apologize for the distress it caused you." The words were clean, placed carefully like bricks. I watched his eyes. They didn't lie. He was angry, at Evan, at the mess, at himself for letting it happen. Good. Anger can be a tool. Evan rolled his eyes. "She had a resume draft." "And you had my inbox," I said. "We can talk about drafts. Or we can talk about unauthorized access." I turned to HR. "Do we need to discuss IT's log and the timing of the access?" HR looked at her notes. "We have a record of elevated access Saturday morning and Friday night." "We are reviewing. Review faster," Mr. West said. Evan laughed, short and sharp. "Come on, everyone snoops." "I had to make a call." "On her wedding day," Mr. West said, voice flat as slate. I opened my binder to a tab. Yellow. Client renewals. I slid a paper forward. A calendar I'd made months ago with names, numbers, and little stars beside the ones who had special conditions, grandfathered rates, custom billing cycles, preferences about call times. "Here's why you got 108 calls," I said calmly. "You've trained your clients to trust me. You leveraged my consistency. I did that work. When I disappeared, you pulled the foundation out from under your own building." Evan stared at the calendar like it was in code. "It wasn't. It was just care written down." "We're here to fix it," Mr. West said. "Your conditions?" I pushed the list forward. 10 lines? Clear black type. Evan snatched the paper. "A pay raise? A title change? And you get to pick your boss?" He laughed like he had found the joke. It stalled in the air, confused. "Dad, this is—" "Evan," Mr. West said. "A warning." Then to me, "The title and compensation are in line with your performance. The reporting change." He looked at HR. "Doable?" HR nodded, slow. "We can structure it. The non-disparagement is standard." She tapped the paper with a pen. "This one," she pointed to number 9, "you want an acknowledgement that the firing occurred on your wedding day by text message." "Yes," I said. "Because facts matter." Evan snorted again. "You want me to write you a letter that says I ruined your cake?" "I want accountability in writing," I said. "Because memories bend." Mr. West's jaw flexed. He looked at the paper for a long moment, like a man memorizing a map he did not choose. "Accepted," he said. Evan turned red so fast it was like watching a sunrise. Are you serious? You sent a termination text during an employee's wedding, Mr. West said without turning his head. Do you hear yourself? He tapped the table once with his fingertips and turned back to me. The severance guarantee is high. It's market with a cushion, I said. You can afford it. I let a beat pass. I made you millions, silence. Not defensive this time, respectful. He knew. He had the P&L sheets. He had the graphs with my accounts rising like a tide. We agree in principle, he said. We need legal to draft. Today, I said. I'll wait, he blinked. HR blinked. Evan glared. I was polite, but I was done making this easy. And the donation, I added. In my name. Post the receipt internally. Not for PR, for culture. Evan scoffed. You're trying to make me look bad. You did that yourself, I said. I'm trying to make the floor level for people with less leverage than me. HR's pen stilled. For a second, something like relief moved across her face. Mr. West nodded once, slow. Done. He shifted in his chair, realigned his papers. There's still the matter of operational continuity. We need you to stabilize the accounts. I turned a page in my binder. Green tab. I'll send an email to clients today from a new distribution that does not include Evan. It will be simple. I'm back. Here are next steps. But first, I held his gaze. You will send a company-wide memo this hour. It will say Evan is stepping back from day-to-day account decisions and that the operations director will oversee transitions. It will direct questions to me and ops. No spin. No rumor vacuum. Clarity. Claire, Evan started. Clarity, I repeated, not looking at him. Mr. West stared at the glass wall, at the office beyond, at the nervous shuffle of people pretending not to look. He nodded. Draft the memo, he told HR. I'll sign it. This was the turning point. I could feel it, like the moment a heavy door releases and swings in with a whisper. I could have stopped there. I had what I wanted. Security, respect, distance from Evan. But revenge is not always a roar. It is a mirror. It is light in the right place. I have one more condition, I said, and let the words come slow. An internal audit. Evan sat forward. What? Of 3 things, I said. Access rights, compliance notification processes, and client promises made without documentation. I slid another sheet forward. A small list of dates where I had cleaned up behind him. Not accusations, facts. If you audit, you fix. If you fix, everyone sleeps better. HR sat a little taller. It's prudent. It's war, Evan said, but his voice had lost some heat. He could hear the room move away from him. It's maintenance, I said. You've had squeaky shoes in a museum for a year. Let's check the floors. Mr. West rubbed his temple, then dropped his hand. Approved, he said. Get legal, get ops. He stood, and so did I. He held out his hand. His palm was cool, dry, sure. You were the adult in the room, he said. You shouldn't have had to be. I held his gaze a second longer than was comfortable. You're the parent, I said. You still are. He didn't flinch. He nodded. Evan watched us with bright, wounded eyes. He didn't speak to me as we left. He stared at the pattern in the carpet like it had betrayed him. I stepped into the hallway, into the motion and noise. People glanced up. Someone started to clap. One of those awkward, reflexive sounds that know they belong to a larger story. It died quickly. Good. This wasn't a parade. It was a reset. Back at my desk, I opened my email. A draft was waiting from HR. The apology from Evan, bulleted and neat, not from his voice, but bearing his name. The company memo from Mr. West, crisp. The donation receipt, already paid, scanned, shared. A calendar invite from Ops for the audit kickoff, Monday morning at 9. I read them all. I saved them all. I sat back and let myself feel, not joy, not yet. Something else. A clean line inside, I typed my client email. Short, human. I'm back. Thank you for your patience. Here is what we'll do. I hit send. Replies came like rain. At 4:57 p.m., my phone buzzed. Evan. I didn't want his voice in my ear, but I took the call. He didn't start with hello. "You think you won," he said. "I think I set the record straight," I said. "The rest is up to you." "You made Dad humiliate me." "You did that," I said. I made sure the lights were on. I hesitated, then told him the thing no one had told him, probably ever. "You still can be good at this." "But not like this." He cursed, a raw, ugly sound. "You should have kept your head down." "I did," I said. "For years." I hung up. That night, I slept. Deep. Like the kind of sleep that comes after a storm when the windows are open and the air smells like new leaves. In the morning, I woke up to sunlight spilling across our kitchen and the sound of Matt humming off key in the shower. I made coffee and didn't think about my phone for a full 10 minutes. That felt like wealth. Mini cliffhanger. The plan is in place. But revenge, the kind that teaches, requires execution and consequence. What happens when the audit starts, and when clients finally see what's behind the glass? The audit started on time. Apps pulled reports, IT pulled access logs, HR pulled policies printed on paper that still smelled like the office supply store. I didn't lead it. I just answered questions when asked, offered dates, forwarded receipts. I did not push. I did not gloat. I kept my voice low and my proof high. The first finding was boring and damning. Access creep. Evan had permissions that no manager should have. He could open staff emails. He could edit calendars without the calendar's owner consenting. He had access to client folders that should have required a second key. It wasn't criminal. It was careless. The second finding was sharper. Undocumented promises. Discounts that lived only in Evan's charm. Timelines he swore we could meet without talking to the teams that would have to meet them. It was all there in the CRM. Notes with no attachments, fields left blank. TBD written like a prayer. The third finding was loud. Compliance notifications streamlined until entire regions didn't get what they were required to get. It hadn't caused a fine, yet. It could have. It made Mr. West go quiet in a way that meant action was coming. The board scheduled an emergency meeting. I wasn't in the room. I wasn't even in the building when it happened. I took the afternoon off and sat in a park with a paperback and a thermos of tea. The sky was a chalk blue bowl. Leaves scraped softly in a breeze that smelled like rain. I watched a kid chase a squirrel. I watched a dog decide the creek was a lake and needed to be told off for existing. I watched the light change. My phone face down on the bench. I didn't need to see it to know it would ring. At 3:17 p.m., it buzzed. A text from HR. "May call?" I typed, "Yes." She didn't waste words. "Evan is being moved out of operations. Effective immediately. New role in a different division. No staff, no client contact. External announcement tomorrow." A pause. "He's also required to complete leadership coaching before any future advancement." I waited for the rush of satisfaction. It came, but not as fireworks. More like a warm blanket laid over a cold place. "Thank you," I said. "There's more," she said. "The board is establishing a new process for promotions. No family involvement without external approval. They're also implementing access controls with quarterly reviews." She exhaled, a small laugh at the end like a thread breaking. "You change things." I reminded them of things, I said. "The company was good before. It can be better," she hesitated. "There is one unpleasant item. Evan claims you undermined him by hoarding client relationships." I laughed, not unkind. I kept my word to clients. "That is not hoarding. That is honor." I let the quiet sit. "Put my binder next to the CRM, see which is fuller." She didn't argue. She didn't need to. "Thank you for calling me yourself," I added. After we hung up, I sat and watched the creek. Sun slid to gold. I thought about revenge. Most people think it's heat. They think it's sharp and quick and loud. Sometimes it is. But real revenge, the kind that fixes the ache, looks like process. It looks like policies with teeth and keys that fit only the right locks. It looks like a person who used to be in every room moving to a smaller one with a door that stays shut until they learn. The external announcement went out the next morning. It was clean and corporate, A reshuffle story with no adjectives. But people know. They always do. Clients called to say congratulations without saying congratulations. Vendors who had been careful started using softer voices again. The receptionist sent me a photo of her new flowers, yellow, also known as hope. That Friday, I walked past Evan's old office. The nameplate was gone. The room was empty. A painter rolled fresh white paint over the scuffed wall where his chair used to hit. The steady shh of the roller sounded like erasing. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. At noon, Mr. West asked me to step into his office. He stood by the window, hands in his pockets, looking down at the parking lot where a delivery truck tried to back into a space too small by 3 inches. "Do you know why I started this company?" he asked without turning. "Because you were tired of being told what couldn't be done," I said. I had read the origin story on the website 100 times. He smiled at the window. "I hired my son because I thought I could show him," he said. Turns out he thought I could shield him. He turned. "I didn't protect you. You protected my company from my son." "I protected our clients," I said. "The company came with them." He nodded. "I can offer you more money." He lifted a hand when I started to speak. "And I will. But I am also offering something else. Build a training program. Teach the juniors how to keep promises the way you do. Choose 3 people. Make them better than us." The request landed somewhere deep in my chest where pride and purpose are neighbors. "Yes," I said. "I will." I walked back to my desk through an office that sounded different, like a song that had lost one loud drum and found a melody. People didn't flinch anymore when their phones rang. The printer whirred. Someone laughed from a real place, not the brittle edge where we go when we're scared. It felt possible I didn't forget the text. I didn't forgive the timing. Memory isn't a goldfish. It is an elephant with a ledger. But the ledger had new entries now. There were days when I would think about the way my hands shook in a conference room and then smile at the thought of a junior rep standing taller because I taught her what a timeline is for. Not for pressure, but for trust. 2 months later, I attended a vendor summit. We wore badges and drank 2 strong coffee and pretended the cookies were better than they were. A man from a competitor pulled me aside. "You're the one," he said. "The wedding day." He shook his head. "Wild." "True," I said. "You know," he added, "if you ever want to change." He let it hang in the air, an invitation that was also admiration. I tucked his card away. I didn't need it, not yet. It felt different to hold a choice because you wanted it, not because you were running. On the morning of our 2-month anniversary, Matt left a card on the kitchen table. Inside, he had written, "You chose yourself. I choose you again." I cried over eggs. The basil on the windowsill still kept trying to die. I kept trying to keep it alive. Some things are stubborn. Some things are worth it. Then a surprise. A certified letter. I opened it at my desk. The letterhead was heavy. The signature at the bottom was Evan's. A formal apology in his hand, not HR's template. The sentences were stiff, but they were his. He wrote, "I am sorry for the harm and disrespect my actions caused you on your wedding day. I understand that leadership is service, not control. I am working on it." The last line caught me. "I know you didn't do this to punish me. You did it to protect the company." "Thank you," I set the letter down. My chest felt strange, like a bruise being pressed by a gentle touch. I didn't frame it. I didn't burn it. I put it in the back of my binder. Proof of the world I helped make. That afternoon, I walked with a new hire through the quiet hum of the floor. She asked, "How do you know when to push back?" "When the cost of silence is your self-respect," I said. "You will feel it in your body before you can say it. Listen." We stopped by the conference room with the windows. It was empty. Sunlight lay across the table like a clean sheet. I checked my phone. No missed calls? None at all. The peace felt like an answer. End of revenge execution. What remains is the weightlifting, the reflection in the mirror that says, "You were right to fight." People think justice is a gavel. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a binder. Sometimes it's 10 clear lines on printer paper. Sometimes it's the way you say no to Tuesday and yes to Wednesday because you decide when the room hears your voice. On my wedding day, power tried to make me small. It sent me a text like a flicked cigarette. I could have put it out with my bare hands and burned my fingers for weeks. Instead, I took a breath. I opened my binder. I waited for the room with the windows. I made the men who broke my peace write it down and sign it. Revenge, for me, was not screaming in the lobby. It was not storming the CEO's office with a smartphone recording live. It was slower and heavier and kinder than that. It was building a safer place for the person who will sit in my chair after me. It was making sure the next wedding day is not the day a man chooses to teach a woman her place. It was reminding a father what father means. I still get a chill when I think of the screen, the line, the bow emoji like a smirk. I also get another kind of chill when I think of 108 missed calls from the people who decided that I mattered. You cannot buy that. You earn it. And once you have it, it is armor. If you are listening to this in a car, in a kitchen, on a break in a bathroom stall with your feet not quite touching the floor because you are so tired, know this: care is power. Receipts are power. Calm is power. You are not small. You are precise. Precision is a blade. When I glance at the basil and see it wilt, I add water. When I see it drown, I pull back. I am learning balance. I am learning to be the kind of person I needed when I was young and hungry and quiet. I am learning that sometimes the best revenge is a better culture with your fingerprints all over it and your name in the version history. And on nights when the sky is too loud and I cannot sleep, I remember a room with glass walls, a table with 10 clean lines on paper, and a pen that felt heavier than it looked. I remember that I did not break. I bent the room to fairness and let it stay that way. If this story hit you in the chest, if you've ever held your breath while power tried to make you small, take it back with me. Like the video, drop a comment with the wildest workplace move you've seen, and subscribe for more true, live stories of justice and revenge. I'm Claire, 29 Columbus, and I promise you, calm, receipts, and courage can change a room.